Because property only exists in the context of a legal system, a government-run system where you can enforce the ability to exclude, who owns the technology is really a question of property law. That means you need to go to an intellectual property lawyer, present your fact situation to them, and get their answer if you really want to know who owns something. In the next couple of sessions, we're going to talk about who owns something from a different point of view. We're going to talk about what difference it makes who owns it and how they own it. Who owns something can really only be answered in the context of a specific legal system because ownership is a concept of property law. Given that, if you really want to know who owns your technology, the only thing you can do is go to a competent intellectual property lawyer, present the fact situation to them, and listen to what they have to say. If you're not happy with them, go to somebody else. It's a legal question. So we're not going to address that in the context of this video training. Instead, what we're going to look at is what difference does it make who owns something and how they own it. Let me just give you a simple example. There's a notion called work for hire. I'm making this videotape for Foresight. Foresight owns it because in my employment contract it says if I do something, the company owns the intellectual property. I don't own it. Suppose a graduate student made it at the university as part of their work assignment for which they are being paid as a research assistant. The university probably owns it. Now suppose that they make it as a class activity. They're not being paid to go to class. Even if they're on scholarship, their scholarship agreement doesn't say everything you do in class the university owns. It's not a work for hire. They own it. If they own it, that means the university cannot commercialize it without sharing the benefits with the co-inventors, and if they are a co-inventor, they need a piece of that action when it comes down. How you own things is also important, whether it's owned in copyright, trademark, so on, because that will help skew how it gets commercialized. So we're going to look at those two questions as we go forward. Who owns it and what does that mean for commercialization? And how do you own it and what does that mean for commercialization? And it's to that we turn in the next several sessions. See you soon. The easiest way to resolve the question of who owns something is to put it in writing between you and the other party. If you work for me, as I said before, I can give you an employment contract that says I own everything. There's another way that I can resolve that question. It's called a non-disclosure agreement. In other words, I'm not going to tell you anything unless you sign a piece of paper that says, okay, what you're telling me, I acknowledge that's your property, you own it, you're telling it to me, but you own it, I can't exploit it, I can't tell anybody else, I have to keep it a secret. That's a trade secret. That's the easiest way to resolve who owns something because I don't have to file any papers with the government. I don't have to go and send anything anywhere. I just have you and I, who we're talking, you and me talking now, give you a piece of paper, you sign it, I sign it, we agree, shake hands, boom, I own it, end of story. What does that mean for commercialization? Well, first of all, it means if I'm going to share something with you under trade secret, I need to share something that can be kept secret. Some things are harder to keep secret. If this is what I'm talking about, the remote control for the video cam, well, the second we introduce this into commerce, somebody can take it apart and see how it's made. So it doesn't really do much good to protect this by trade secret. On the other hand, if it has to do with a manufacturing process, a way of doing things that is not done in public, it's done behind the four walls of a factory or an office, I can protect that with trade secret because nobody else can see it. Now the problem is I have to worry about leakage because you might get hired away and I'm not there to enforce the trade secret. So I probably also want to have a non-compete clause in the contract so that for some period of years you don't work for my direct competitors or my competitors, so that I'm sure that it doesn't leak by your going over there as well. Anyways, trade secret is incredibly useful when you're developing technology. It's very, very useful for process technology and for things that you can keep a secret. The one thing to realize is if it's independently invented, nobody's violated trade secrets, so they can keep their secrets secret. You can keep your secret secret. You may be owning the same thing, but there's no violation because each of you has separately invented it and kept it secret separately. One doesn't know about the other. So that's trade secret. When we come back, we'll talk about patents.